Hello, I am R.E. Burden. Welcome to my show, R.E. Burden Presents Deep Dives into the Divine Design. Today's topic, Day 4, the Day of the Menorahs in the Sky. Foreshadowing the Day of Pentecost, Shavuot.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at something pretty specific. The connection between day 4 of creation and, well, the day of Pentecost.
That's right. We've got this source, Day 4, the Day of Menorahs in the Sky, which argues for a direct foreshadowing. It links Genesis to Acts in a, let's say, intriguing way.
Intriguing is a good word. So our mission really is to unpack that link for you. We want to see what this text says about menorahs in the sky and how they might relate to Pentecost or Shavuot.
Exactly. We'll try to make sense of the layers without getting too bogged down.
Okay, so let's start with the familiar bit. Genesis 1, day 4. Sun, moon, stars. Simple enough, right?
Well, yes. But this source immediately zooms in on the Hebrew. The word for lights there is miy-orowth.
Miy-orowth, okay.
And the point made is that miy-orowth is very closely related to the word menorah, lampstand.
Ah, okay. So not just general lights, but specifically structured light givers, like menorahs.
Precisely. The source calls the sun the major menorah and the moon the minor menorah.
And the stars.
They're described as other menorahs, or maybe luminaries. Still part of that same idea.
Menorahs in the sky. That definitely puts a different spin on it than just, lights. Why does the source think this specific term matters so much?
It seems to suggest intent, a design. It's not just about illumination. It's about a specific kind of ordered light source. And that imagery, the menorah, is obviously packed with meaning later on.
Right, leading directly to the tabernacle.
Exactly. The source draws a really direct parallel between the structure of the tabernacle menorah and two things. The creation week itself, and also the structure of a lunisolar month.
Okay, wait, the menorah structure maps onto the month as well? How does that work?
It's presented as a kind of template. You've got the central lamp, the shemesh. That's seen as representing creation day or maybe new moon day. Then you have the 3 lamps branching off to one side,
Right.
representing the 3 days of, let's say, arrangement in creation, forming the basics.
Okay, makes sense.
And the 3 lamps on the other side, that's the 3 days of adornment, filling those arrangements. Sun, moon, birds, fish, land animals, humans.
Got it. Arrangement and adornment. These 1, 3, and 4, 6. What about the 7th day, the Sabbath?
The source points to the uppermost almond blossom on the central shaft. That represents the first Sabbath, the completion.
So the whole structure, the 7 branches plus the central shaft's top, maps perfectly onto the creation week.
That's the argument. And then it does this sort of triple duty. Yeah. 1, it sets this divine pattern right at the start. 2, it supposedly models the first 3 weeks of the month. And 3, it even works as the 4th week, with the central lamp potentially being the optional 30th day if needed.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot packed into one object. It's presenting the menorah as this fundamental blueprint for divine time and order.
That seems to be the core idea, yes, a recurring pattern.
So how does this blueprint, this pattern of day 4 in the menorah, connect forward to Pentecost? That's the main thrust here, right? The new creation.
Right. The source shifts focus to Acts chapter 2, Pentecost. You know the scene. The disciples gathered, the sound like a mighty rushing wind.
Tongues of fire.
Tongues like fire resting on each of them, being filled with the Holy Spirit. A pretty dramatic event.
Absolutely. So where's the parallel?
The parallel drawn is this. Just like you had the menorahs in the sky established on day 4 of the old creation, you have the arrival of the Spirit, this divine fire, this light coming from beyond the sky on what the source calls day 4 of the new creation week.
Okay, hold on. Pentecost as day 4 of the new creation week. How does the source justify calling Pentecost day 4?
It offers 3 main connection points, or maybe interpretations, to bridge that gap between day 4 of Genesis and day 50, Pentecost.
All right, what's the first one?
The first one is called the Tabernacle's conception. It looks back to Exodus 24.
Okay, Exodus 24, that's the covenant ratification, right? Moses reads the book of the covenant, the people agree, there's the sacrifice.
Exactly. The source suggests a specific timing for this event the day after the 7th Sabbath counted from their departure from Sukkot.
Which would put it right around
Right around the time of Pentecost, potentially. It connects this to entering the Sinai wilderness on a new moon day, possibly the 9th day of the 3rd month, based on some lexicon readings. So a temporal link is suggested between the giving of the covenant instructions and Pentecost.
A timing link. A plausible connection. Point one. What's the second?
The second one is, well, it's a deeper theological interpretation. It proposes the actual conception of Yashua Jesus might have occurred at Pentecost.
The conception at Pentecost.
Yeah. The idea floated is that Mary's Magnificat, her song of praise, could have been an immediate reaction to this event, placing it 6 months after John the Baptist's conception, which tradition often links to the autumn festivals.
That's definitely going beyond a surface reading, like the source itself notes. It's a specific interpretive lens.
It is. It's offered as one way to see Pentecost as a pivotal day 4 kind of moment in the new creation narrative arc.
Okay. Intriguing, if less direct. What's the third connector?
The third link is to Yashua's mikvah, his baptism.
His baptism. How does that connect to day 4 or Pentecost?
It draws parallels between Moses going up Mount Sinai for 40 days after that covenant moment,
Right.
around Pentecost time, to get the Tabernacle plan.
Days.
And Yashua's experience after his baptism, remember, the Spirit descends like a dove, the voice from heaven speaks very powerful moments, and then he immediately goes into the wilderness
for 3 days.
For 40 days, facing temptation. The source sees this as mirroring Moses' 40 days on the mountain, receiving divine instruction and presence, while down below, the golden calf incident happened. It connects Yashua's preparation for ministry, empowered by the Spirit after baptism, to that foundational Pentecost Sinai period.
So let me recap the 3 links proposed. First, the timing of the covenant ratification at Sinai potentially lining up with Pentecost. Second, the interpretation of Yashua's conception possibly occurring at Pentecost. And third, the parallel between Moses' 40 days post-covenant Pentecost and Yashua's 40 days post-baptism Spirit descent.
That's a good summary of the connections presented in the source, yes. They're always, the author tries to solidify Pentecost's role as a fulfillment or echo of the themes established back on day 4 of creation.
And the core theme linking them all is this idea of divine light, order, and presence symbolized by the menorahs in Genesis and manifested as the Holy Spirit's fire at Pentecost.
Exactly. The light established physically on day 4 finds its spiritual counterpart, its fulfillment, in the outpouring of the Spirit. It suggests a continuity, a single unfolding plan.
So for you listening, the question becomes, what does this connection mean to you? Seeing Pentecost not just as an isolated event, but as potentially echoing the very structure of Creation Week, specifically day 4.
Yeah, does thinking about the Holy Spirit's arrival in terms of divine menorahs, light, guidance, presence, does that change how you view that event or even your own experience of the Spirit?
It encourages looking for those deeper patterns, doesn't it? The source argues that the symbolism of the menorah illuminates Pentecost in a unique way.
It certainly does. It ties the giving of the Spirit directly back to God's foundational ordering of the cosmos.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, key takeaways. The translation of Menorahs as menorahs is central, suggesting a specific structure, not just light.
Then there's the Tabernacle menorah as this potential multi-layered template for creation week and the month.
And finally, these 3 proposed connections, the covenant timing, the conception interpretation, and the baptism parallel linking day 4 of creation to the events and significance of Pentecost.
It paints a picture of Pentecost as a profound day 4 moment in God's redemptive work, echoing the original creation of the heavenly lights.
So a final thought to leave you with, maybe something provocative. If day 4 brought light bearers to the sky, and Pentecost brought the Spirit's fire from beyond the sky, how does that combined imagery of light and spirit continue to manifest?
Right. What does it mean for us today to walk in that light, guided by that Spirit? How is that creative and ordering power, first seen with the celestial menorahs and then poured out at Pentecost, still active in the world and perhaps in your own life? Something to think about.